In 2006, despite having the success from 2002 to 2005, Johnson's dominance would start here in 2006. However, 2006 started off pretty rocky, as his crew chief Chad Knaus was suspended due to having an illegal window part in his car. As a result, he was suspended and he had to have a replacement crew chief. But that did not stop Johnson, as he would go on to win the biggest race of the season, the Daytona 500. That same year, he also made another impressive win by edging Matt Kenseth on the final lap, the only lap he led, to win Las Vegas. He also won his very first race at Talladega, another impressive race that he really wanted to win. And then he also won another crown jewel event, the Brickyard 400. That one of the most impressive races to win, or one of the favorite races to win all year. And then he also got one more Martinsville win. And after having 5 consecutive top 2 finishes from Charlotte to Phoenix and a 9th place finish at Homestead, Johnson was able to get his first Cup championship, as well as winning $15.8 million that year, with 5 wins, 13 top 5s, 24 top 10s, and an average finish of 9.7. In 2007, Johnson continued his winning ways by having another dominating season. Despite not having a season sweep in 2006, Johnson would have, once again, 3 season sweeps at 3 different tracks, at Atlanta, Martinsville, and Richmond. Throughout the season, Johnson won 10 races in 2007. As a result, including 4 races in a row, and to this date, the last driver to do that. As a result, with his dominance in the chase and his extreme consistency throughout the season, he was able to edge Jeff Gordon by winning his 2nd consecutive championship. Winning over $15 million with 10 wins, 20 top 5s, 24 top 10s, and an average finish of 10.8. In 2008, Johnson got off to a pretty slow start. In the first 5 races of the 2008 season, Johnson only had 1 top 10 or 1 top 5, which was a 2nd place finish at California. In the first half of the 2008 season, Johnson only won 1 race, which was at Phoenix. However, in the second half of the season, he was able to pick it up. He won the infamous 2008 Brickyard 400. That was the race that was known to have, tire shredding all the time, being one of the most controversial, worst races that we've had. And then later in the season, during the season, he won California, Richmond, Kansas, Martinsville, and yet another season sweep, which was at Phoenix. So as a result, the total races that Johnson won in 2008 was 7. And he battled Carl Edwards for the Cup championship at the end with Johnson, but however, Johnson was able to beat Carl by winning his 3rd consecutive championship, tying Cale Yarborough for the most consecutive championship with 15 top 5s, 22 top 10s, once again over $15 million in winnings, and an average finish of 10.5. However, his dominance was not done yet. By 2009, Johnson was already named as one of the greatest drivers in the 2000s. And then in 2009, Johnson still continued his dominance. And early in the season, he has won Martinsville and dominated Dover. And yet, once again, he was able to pull off another season sweep, this time at his favorite track at Dover. And he was able for a 3rd time win another Brickyard 400 after taking advantage of Juan Pablo Montoya's mistake at the end of the race, who had the dominant car. And throughout the season, Johnson was able to get get 7 more wins throughout the season, 16 top 5s and 24 top 10s. And with his success late in the season, winning 4 of the 10 chase races, Johnson was able to get his 4th consecutive NASCAR championship, being the only driver to do that. And as well as getting $14 million that year with an average finish of 11.1. As a new decade started in 2010, that did not stop Johnson, as he would win 3 races early in the season at California, Las Vegas, and Bristol, that would be his 50th career win. And throughout the season, Johnson was able to get 3 more wins. That makes it a total of 6 wins throughout the season. And during the chase, Johnson was able, besides one event, which was at the beginning at Loudon, Johnson was able to finish in the top 10 at every chase event, finishing no worse than 9th. And by the end of the season, taking advantage of Denny Hamlin's mistake, Johnson was able to win his 5th consecutive championship and in the season, and as well as accumulating $13 million that same year, and an average finish of 12.2. After winning that 5th consecutive championship, he was already named as one of the greatest drivers of all time. However, in 2011, things began to slow down for Johnson. In 2011, Johnson kind of had struggles with pit road penalties and also being involved with some wrecks, and as well as having some bad luck with mechanical failures. Despite all this, Johnson was able to win 2 races, one was at Talladega, where he was able to beat his teammate Jeff Gordon by 2 1/1000ths of a second, and as well as in Kansas, where Johnson was able to dominate the race during the chase. However, during his chase, it was not as consistent as the previous years were, as in the final 6 events of the year, Johnson only had 1 top 5, which was at Martinsville, where he finished 2nd. And all the other events, Johnson finished no better than 14th. And at the end of the year, Johnson finished 6th in points, his first finish in points outside the top 5, and only made about $7.6 million that year with an average finish of 11.9. However, in 2012, Johnson was able to return to glory. In 2012, Johnson was able to win 5 races at 5 different tracks. At Darlington, where he gave Rick Hendrick his 200th win as a car owner. He won at his favorite track at Dover, won yet another Brickyard 400 trophy, and then during the chase he won 2 consecutive races at Martinsville and Texas. However, due to bad finishes at Phoenix, where he finished 32nd, and then at Homestead, where he had a rear-end gear failure, Johnson was out of the race and finished 36th, and he was a major championship contender that year, but at the end of the season, Johnson was forced to finish 3rd in points, racking up $10.4 million that year and having an average finish of 11.2, having 18 top 5s and 24 top 10s that same year. And then in 2013, the first year of the Gen 6 car, Jimmie Johnson will be back on top. He won the Daytona 500 at the beginning of the season, and won at Martinsville, had another season sweep in his career, which was this time, as it was at Daytona, the first time a driver has swept Daytona since Bobby Allison in 1982. He also won at his favorite track again at Dover, and for the 2nd consecutive year, he won the fall race at Texas. Johnson was consistent throughout the year. Throughout the year, he had 16 top 5s and 24 top 10s, being the best car through much of the season with an average finish of 10.7, and by the end, he was able to get his 6th championship. getting $14.6 million that year, and still being named as one of the greatest drivers in the sport. However, things will go to a worse turn next year in 2014.